Hi, today I'm joined by professional fire risk assessor Andy Leather, and we're going to be looking at source of ignition in relation to fire risk assessments, or FRAs, within a church. So Andy, when you carry out a fire risk assessment within a church, what are you looking out for in relation to source of ignition?
One of the key things to look at is the electrical system. So the electrical wiring must be inspected, but most importantly is the day-to-day management of sockets within. So extension leads, because there are so few sockets within a church, people tend to use too many extension leads, and that's something we look out for. Also, candles, they are part of the church. They will always be there. What we need to make sure is they are effectively managed. And lastly, cafes are becoming more and more popular within churches. So part of that introduces more ignition sources. And again, we need to check and manage those.
And when looking at this church, what source of ignition have you come across?
Well, we have found electrical wiring. It's very well managed and the cables are well managed. We've also come across the heating system, which is again very well managed, regularly maintained. And of course we have the candles, which again are very well managed. They're in a non-combustible tray, non-combustible surface underneath, and of course there's the fire extinguisher nearby as well.
And is there anything that they can do better to prevent the sources of ignition becoming a problem within this church?
There's always things we can do better. In this particular church, there is a critical means of escape, for example, which comes down from the bell tower. Along the base of that staircase, there are many combustible items. Although there is no ignition source at the moment, there could be introduced by somebody. So we need to make sure that area is kept clear so that that critical escape route is always available. And also we have the wall hangings and the curtains that are around. If we treat those with a flame retardant liquid, then we can reduce the risk of them being involved in a fire.
So this is fairly common of most churches, but what other sources of ignition do you come across in other churches?
Well, sometimes churches will use heaters as a temporary source of heat. Nothing wrong with that as long as they're correctly managed to make sure things like paper can't block vents. What's really important also is the socket management. So if, for example, we have a large event, then there's always a temptation to put too many sockets into the system. So that's very important to look out for. And then, of course, on events, while we're on the subject, a Christingle happens every year. Lots of people, increased occupancy, and of course everybody gets to carry a candle around. So again, nothing wrong with that. What's important is it's correctly managed.
That's really good, Andy. Thanks very much.